Welcome to Survey Matters with Duncan-Parnell. My name is Mark White, and I'm the Training and Support Manager for DP. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the latest release of Trimble Business Center, TBC 2025.10. But first, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Trimble Business Center 2025.10. So back at the end of July, Trimble released TBC 2025.10. And today I want to cover a few of the highlights in the release notes, things that I think might be handy for you there. There's actually more features that I'm going to cover today, and I'll leave a link to the release notes down in the description so you guys can see them all there. But some new survey features. So one of the new features is a new command called Integrate Points into Geometry. This automatically converts vertex coordinates for line string based lines, polygons, Kogo parcels into points for you. And they've added a progress bar and a cancel button. So this will come in really handy if you've got a lot of lines and you're trying to convert those vertexes into points. You can kind of see the progress bar, see how things are going, and you can cancel if there's just too much going on or something like that, right? But that's a new feature called Integrate Points into Geometry there. For traverse adjustments, both least squares and bow ditch adjustments now have the option to work with a closed link traverse that uses an estimated initial azimuth. And as you do the adjustment, the control points in the file will be used to compute the azimuth at the end. All right. Another new feature for least squares for GNSS, you can now create custom GNSS variance groups or variance groups. So if you go under your settings for network adjustment, there's now an option for variance groups, and you can set up to 5 GNSS custom variance groups there for your adjustments. And then also on the surfaces, so on the Add Remove Surface Members pane, it used to just have an Add and Remove tab. Now you've got a Select button on there as well. And when you hit Select, that will select everything that has been used to create the surface. This keeps you from having to go back to the Project Explorer and selecting things, turning things on and off. It just chooses everything that was used in the surface so you can see what was used and saves you some time and effort there. All right, a couple new GIS features there. We talked about this in Trimble Access when I did the video last month on Trimble Access and the updates in 2025.10. But in feature definition files, Trimble now allows you to store polylines with the codes on lines instead of the codes on the points, and then having to process those points to create the lines. So now by putting the codes on the line, you're actually creating the line. So now TBC has this option as well there. And that just helps speed things up. You're creating lines instead of creating points and then having to connect the dots there. All right, a new CAD feature. This one's really handy for anybody that does point clouds. You've got a new capture outline command. So if you go to the CAD toolbar, do the arrow down for line strings, there's now outline in there. And all you have to do is click 2 points on each straight line in an outline of, say, a room or a building, and TBC will draw it out for you, right? It'll connect up all those lines, close out the figure. So this can be really handy if you're doing buildings out of point clouds, you're doing walls for floor plans out of point clouds, things like that. You just click on it, 2 points. You don't have to like zoom in and really get on the corner. You just click a couple of points on each line and TBC will draw it out from there. Another new point cloud feature. So in older versions of TBC, you had to remember to go up in the settings and set your RAM size for the rendering cache size so it would run optimally with your point cloud. Whoops, sorry about that. TBC now takes care of that for you. It automatically, when you're running point cloud data, it looks at your computer and sets the rendering cache size to half your available RAM there for you. Now on to the next one, enhanced point cloud training. So now you have the option of classifying the entire validation file, which is slow but very accurate, or they've added a feature where you can do smaller sets of points, which is faster, a little less accurate, but it allows you to train models a lot faster using smaller sets of points there. All right, a couple other new point cloud features. Classification enhancements. The model for the classification of point clouds collected with terrestrial sensors has been improved. Classification for all regions is a lot more accurate, including some major enhancements when you're dealing with overpasses, traffic signs that include like cantilever signs hanging over roads, signs that are on bridges, and then signs with multiple posts. You know, it used to look for a sign with a single post. Now it understands that signs along highways can have 2 posts on them as well, or maybe even 3 posts, right? And then point cloud classification performance enhancement. The point cloud classification has been increased by utilizing more CPU and more GPU resources just to give you more performance. Things run faster, classify a little bit better in 2025.10. All right. So for you guys doing photogrammetry, cool new feature in 2025.10 is automatic ground control point selection. So you can now have TBC select ground targets automatically. It will detect them and extract them for the adjustment. You have to use certain types of checkerboards. There's some examples here, but this new feature can save a lot of time, right? Depending on the number of control points being measured. And it can actually improve the accuracy for performing the adjustment because you're not clicking on pixels in the screen and then picking a checkerboard, picking a point, picking a checkerboard, picking a point. It's going to automatically look for certain types of checkerboards there based on their configuration size, that sort of thing. All right. Trimble Connect, for you guys using Trimble Connect, the user interface for the connected workspace has been completely redesigned to make it a lot easier, more seamless for you to integrate your workflow with Trimble Access and Trimble Connect, bringing data into TBC from the field to do your edits, do your adjustments, surfaces, all that good stuff. They've completely redone the interface for the workspace and made it a lot easier to use. And then finally, new coordinate system for you guys that have been waiting in the US for the new coordinate system to come out. Trimble has now added an alpha version of the State Plane Coordinate System of 2022 or SPCS 2022 to the software. You'll see there, I've got an example up of using that new one with North Carolina as the zone there. So you can start playing around with that, take a look at it, familiarize yourself with the changes coming up in 2026 for the guys here in the States using state plane coordinates. Now, again, that was just a brief overview. I covered some of the highlights. There will be a link in the description for the release notes so you guys can check that out and see everything that's been improved in TBC. Thanks for stopping by Survey Matters, and I will see you on the next one.